Bald eagles that we have. Wilderness habitats. We've got two bald eagles. We have Zeus and we have Charlie. These guys came to us as adults. They're a little bit shyer around people, so hopefully we can have some good shots of them today. So the one that's flying up right now, making his way up to the top perch, that's Charlie. Charlie is 16 years old. He came to us in 2010 as an adult. He was a rehab bird. He sustained injuries. He was deemed non-releasable, so he came to live here with us. And that's a similar story with Zeus, who I'll talk about in just a minute. So Charlie actually came from Florida. It's hard to tell looking at the two eagles, but Charlie's actually slightly smaller than Zeus is. Charlie's also the one that perches up high. He flies a little bit better than our other eagle. So if you come by our zoo, come by our habitat when it's open, he's perched up a little bit higher. Zeus is our other bird. He's down on the ground. He's a little bit bigger. He's 13 years old, and he came to us in 2011. This guy also sustained injuries, deeming him non-releasable, so he came to live here in 2011. Unfortunately, they think Zeus was hit by a train or a car, which sometimes happens with wild raptors. So I know everyone's very familiar with the bald eagle. They have a really great conservation story and a great conservation message. Back in the 70s, they used DDT as a pesticide, and that really hindered bald eagles and other bird and raptor species. It affected how they metabolized calcium, and they were laying very thin eggs. So unfortunately, DDT was not affecting adult birds, but it was affecting their eggs and their chicks. I think in 1985, they had estimated there's only one breeding pair of bald eagles found in Illinois. Through the Endangered Species Act and limiting the use of DDT as pesticides, these guys have made a really great comeback. Through habitat protection, just lots of cautious monitoring, these guys have really made a comeback. In Illinois, there can be thousands during the wintering season, and there's estimated to be about 30 to 40 breeding pairs in Illinois alone. They estimate about 115,000 bald eagles in the United States. These guys were put on the endangered species list in 2007. They were taken off the United States endangered species list, and in 2009 they were taken off Illinois endangered species list. So these guys are making a great comeback. We have these two here because, again, they sustained injuries in the wild. They were deemed non-releasable, so they came to live here. Bald eagles in the wild can live about 20 years. In human care, they can live upwards of 40. One of the oldest bald eagles recorded was 50 years old at a facility in New York. These guys are called bald eagles. They are not bald. It's actually an older term meaning white, and that's how they got their name, because of their white heads. These guys get that adult coloration at about 4 to 5 years of age. When they're younger, they're solid brown. They look very similar to the golden eagle, which is another species of eagle that's found here in the United States. These guys can be about 13 pounds, which is pretty large, pretty heavy for a bird. Their wingspan can be 7 to 8 feet long. They have the third largest wingspan of a bird species in North America, after the California condor and the American white pelican. I don't know if you can hear the vocalizations that Charlie's doing, but that's how they sound. A common misconception of bald eagles in TV and film, that they have this different sound, this different vocalization. That's actually a red-tailed hawk sound. So if you're watching a TV show or a movie, they show a bald eagle and you hear that kind of screeching, soaring sound, that's actually a different species of bird that they're using the vocalizations for. These guys have a little bit more of a chatter and a squawk, so hopefully they will do some of their vocalizations today. These guys in the wild are scavengers, so they'll eat primarily fish. They'll also eat kind of whatever else they can find, other birds, prey items, rabbits, groundhogs, any of those things, sometimes carrion. Here at the zoo, they get a similar diet. They get a rotation of prey items, so they get that variety. They get a lot of fish, they get guinea pigs, rats, rabbits, and chicks. So we try to mimic their natural diet by giving them a variety. These guys also get fasted once a week, similar to a lot of our carnivore species that we have here. That's a very natural thing. These guys would not be coming across food in the wild every single day. So one fasting day is actually a very natural way and healthy way for them to get their food. So like I mentioned before, we are looking at our American bald eagles. We've got Charlie up top. He is almost always perched up top, so when you come by and visit these guys, you can tell them apart based on their location and their habitat. Zeus is perched lower. Zeus cannot fly as well, so he's almost always on the ground. These guys are two males. They really get along. They get along well. They don't have any negative interactions, but they do kind of spend their time on opposite sides of the enclosure, again, because Charlie can fly, so he utilizes the higher perching in our enclosure, and Zeus hangs out on the bottom with the ground perching that we have provided for them. These guys are native to North America, so they can be on exhibit all year long, so even in the coldest of winters, these guys do really well. They are found all out through the United States. Charlie was found in Florida, and Zeus was found injured in Phoenix. So these guys are from two different parts of the country. They are a migratory species, so these guys will travel a little bit south for nesting, just about as far south as Florida and northern Mexico. And these guys are found all the way up through Canada and into Alaska.
How old are they?
So these guys are 13 and 16. So Zeus on the ground is 13, Charlie is 16. These guys in human care can live upwards of 40 years. So these guys will be here for quite a while. They came to us as an adult, so they have that adult coloration, that white plumage on their heads. These guys came to us, they were about 4 and 5 when they were injured. So these guys were adults when we got them.
What's their lifespan in the wild?
In the wild, they can be about 20 years. So it's almost double if they're living here.
Do you know how many feathers they have?
That is an excellent question, and that's something that we will definitely get back to you on.
So since they're both male, I assume they don't make any nests?
No, so these guys are not a breeding pair, of course. These guys were injured in the wild, so different permitting is required to breed bald eagles. These guys will not be building a nest, but in the wild, their nests can be 10 feet wide, very deep, hundreds of pounds. These guys actually build, in the wild, they build one of the largest nests of any bird species found in North America. The breeding pairs in the wild will return to that same nesting site for multiple breeding seasons, and each year they'll just add to that nest. Their nest is made out of sticks. It can be very large, and again, it can weigh upwards of hundreds of pounds. So they need to find a very sturdy old tree for them to safely build their nests in. In the wild, they can lay up to 3 eggs. 2 is most common. And both parents will take turns incubating and feeding and raising their chicks.
How much do they weigh?
These guys weigh 13 pounds. Doesn't sound like a lot. Birds have hollow bones, and feathers are not very heavy, so birds need to be lighter so they could fly, of course. So 13-pound bird is actually on the larger scale. Mammal of this size comparably would be probably 40, 50 pounds. So birds are much lighter than mammals are.
How can you tell them apart? Are they sexually dimorphic?
There are not a lot of differences between male and female raptor species. Males are slightly smaller, females are slightly larger, and again, there can be exceptions to those rules, but that's mostly often so they can have a little less competition when they're in the same area looking for food. Females can eat slightly larger prey items.
Are there any wild bald eagles in our area?
Yes, so bald eagles are found, there are nesting and wintering grounds in Illinois. There are 30 to 40 breeding pairs throughout our state. And yes, there are definitely bald eagles in this area. They are very closely monitored species. There's been a lot of habitat restoration, a lot of laws put into place, including the Endangered Species Act and the Balding Golden Eagle Act. So these guys are under a lot of protection laws. Even though they are no longer on the endangered species list, they are still a highly protected species, and they're making a great comeback. It is illegal to hunt bald eagles. It's also illegal to have any of their feathers.
Why is it illegal to have any feathers?
So part of the Golden Bald Eagle Protection Act, all bald eagle products are brought to Native American tribes. So they actually all bald eagle feathers are sent to a facility where they're processed and they're sent out to Native American tribes for different ceremonial and cultural activities.
Why do they have feathers on their legs?
These guys have feathers on their legs so they can be warm. These guys can live all the way up through Alaska and Canada, which gets very cold. So the feathers on their legs just helps keep their body more temperature regulated.
Do they have a favorite food?
These guys really like fish. In the wild, they'll also eat fish most often. So we do feed them fish a couple times a week, a fish species called herring, and I would say that's one of their favorite food items.
Can they swim?
They not really. They will go in the water to take baths. They will go in the water to catch food, but you don't often find an eagle swimming through the water. But they will take frequent baths to keep their feathers clean from debris and dirt so they can fly better.
Do they stay outside all year?
Yes, these guys are very cold hardy. They're from this area, so they are acclimated to all the temperatures that Illinois has to offer all year long. So these guys are outside every single day of the year.
How big are their feet?
Their feet are pretty big. I'd say they're almost comparable, maybe a little bit smaller than a human hand. They've got incredibly powerful feet, incredibly long talons. That's how they catch their prey, is they use their feet to grab their food items and kill it or to tear it up and shred it so they can digest it. They also have incredibly sharp beaks to also help them catch their food and eat their food.
How heavy of a prey item can they lift?
I would say a couple pounds, maybe 3 or 4 pounds. These guys are incredibly strong, very strong flight muscles. Again, they've got the 3rd largest wingspan of a bird species found in North America. So these guys are very strong.
What do they eat here at Brookfield Zoo?
So here at the zoo, they eat a variety of prey items. We rotate every single day so they get that variety. So they get guinea pigs, rabbits, rats, chicks, and fish. We also will give them a special processed meat designed for animals in human care. They also get fasted once a week in the warmer months, and that's very natural for them. In the wild, they would not always be coming across food every single day. So they are on a similar fasting schedule to a lot of the other carnivore species that we have here at the zoo.
I see there's a question, where do you get food for them? And we did a Facebook Live yesterday with Dr. Jen Watts, our nutritionist here at the zoo. So you guys can take a look at that. It's on our Facebook page and on our YouTube channel. And she talks about where we source our food for the raptors and other carnivores. What state has the most eagles?
I would probably say Alaska. A lot of birds will migrate up north that way. So in the non-wintering and the non-breeding season, I would say Alaska probably has the most individual bald eagles.
Do bald eagles mate for life?
So that's a good question. They previously thought that they did mate for life. I guess the term serial monogamous would be more appropriate. The same bald eagles will return to the same nesting site, the same pair, for multiple years. But if something were to happen to one of those bald eagles, the other one would repair up and find a new mate. So they do mate for many, many years, but they do not mate for life.
Do they molt?
Yeah, so these guys molt annually. You can actually see there's some feathers in their habitat. So birds molt so they can grow new feathers as they fly, as they go about their day, as they preen and they clean themselves. Some of those feather shafts can just get broken due to wear and tear. So birds have to molt, depending on the species, seasonally or a couple times a year, so their feathers can be crisp and complete and not hinder any of their flight.
Can you remind us about what colors they're in during different stages of their life?
Yeah, so as juveniles, these guys are almost all like a brown and tawny color. They look very similar to a golden eagle, which is another species of eagle found here. When they hit sexual maturity, about 4 or 5 years of age, they will start getting that white coloration on their head and the white coloration on their tail. And that's how they get the name bald eagle. Bald was an older term used to mean white, and so that's how they got that name. So these guys are not bald, they are completely feathered, and that's where they get the bald eagle name.
How big are their wingspans, and who has larger wingspans?
So these guys have a 7 to 8 foot wingspan. The only larger species in the United States that have larger wingspans are the California condor, which is second largest, and the American white pelican, which have the largest wingspan.
How many bones do they have?
I'm not sure. I guess that's another question that we'll definitely have to do our research and get back to you on.
That was an interesting one.
Yeah, that was a great question.
I haven't heard that one before. Do the males compete for females?
These guys not often. Their bald eagles live more of a social life, solitary life when it's not the non-breeding season. These guys will do some really cool courtship displays though. They'll fly through the air, they'll lock feet, they'll kind of tumble and spiral to the ground. So wild bald eagles have a really cool courtship display when they're selecting their mates. And then once they have done that, then together they'll select their nesting site, build that nest together, again, just continuing all those good courtship behaviors.
Do you have to trim their nails and beaks?
We do not have to trim their nails and beaks. They do get caught up for exams once a year. If we notice that either of those are overgrown, we will trim them a little, but they don't regularly get nail trims. All the things in their habitat, all their perching, just allows them to kind of wear down their nails naturally, as they should. So we don't often do nail trims or beak trims on this species.
Do they ever get live prey?
We do not feed them live prey here at the zoo.
Are there other eagles here at Brookfield Zoo?
These are the only eagle species that we currently have.
Can you remind us why they don't fly?
Yeah, so these two birds were wild birds. They were born in the wild. They were about 3-4 years of age. Both of them sustained injuries, deeming them non-releasable. So when they were found injured in the wild, they were brought to rehabbers, and they were decided that they could not do all the normal functioning things that a bald eagle would need to do to survive in the wild, which is including flight. So these guys are not good flyers, so instead of being euthanized humanely, they came here to live at the zoo. So these guys are not great flyers, which is why we have them here. All right. Well, thank you guys so much for checking us out today. Zeus, Charlie, myself, everyone here at Brookfield Zoo misses all you guys, and thank you so much for your continued support. Have a great day.